Frames are good. Yesterday there was the problem of the OBS studio. Internet connection was stable, but OBS studio my is it not working proper. So the time to I think read C++. Okay, so why? Okay, let's change our contents and go for change the thumbnail. C++ concepts day 4. Okay, we are live. Just okay, let me open my notebook, set up my environment. Here we have, and here we have my cpp file. We were we were revising constructors. So we have 5 type of constructor: default, parameterized, copy, move and conversion constructors. Let's quickly define it. Default constructor are basically a constructor with no parameter. Parameterized constructor, the constructor with parameters. Okay, with a constructor with have certain parameters called parameterized constructor. Copy constructor, a constructor kind of constructor that takes the object reference as a parameter, or it is used to copy an object from another object. It is used to copy an object basically. एंड ये यूज़ कहाँ होता है, देखो कॉपी कंस्ट्रक्टर, जस्ट मैं इसका एक यूज़ बता देता हूँ. इन केस वी हैव अ मेन फाइल and we have 2 type of copy constructor, implicit or explicit. Let me show you. We have a class A. Okay, we have a public and we have index and we have index. Okay, got it. Just we have only these things. Now I'm going to create an object of A, that is object 1. Okay, now object 1 dot x की वैल्यू मैं 90 कर देता हूँ. At the time of initialization, let's do a constructor that will have int n. I will take x will have n. Okay, this is what do we call this type of initialization is, I think initialization I forgot the name of this kind of initialization. Okay, it is kind of initialization you can do this with. It is also working. Okay, now we are getting an object. It will require if it is not requiring an object, we will just passing 0 here. Okay, there will be no error. We have created an object. Now we are going to create another object 2. Okay, now object 2, I am just creating the copy of this object 2. So I just assign object 2 is equals to object. Okay, we have just assigned the object 2. So what will happen here, when we assign an object into this this kind of initialization is called a kind of copy initialization. Wait, I have just mentioned somewhere in my. Okay, just wait for a minute. We are both going to revise this thing. We have multiple kind of initialization of an object. Just wait, I'm going to initialization type. Okay, so before this, just a quick recap of initialization type. Initialization types. Okay, what are, like we have a class. Okay, Now we want to initialize it object. So what are the different ways to initialize the object? Okay, we have its data member which is in text. Okay, just creating a kind of constructor. Okay, now what are the different way to initialize this object? First is default initialization. In the default initialization we must have a default constructor. Default initialization का मतलब होता है just this is the default initialization. So for this initialization either we have the default constructor or we have a single parameterized constructor with default values, like either this way. And if you have a constructor, parameterized constructor like int x की value sorry int x की value 0, okay, then we have to define that this way. Okay, this initialization is default initialization, and for this kind of initialization we must have either the default constructor as we have here, or we have like this value default constructor. Now what if we have the both the values, we will get the error because okay, sorry, and there is a special case of default constructor. To construct any object we have this kind, these two are default constructor. Listen, these two are default constructor. Okay, yes, if a parameterized constructor all the parameters have their default value, then that constructor is basically a default constructor also. For example, we have int x and like we have int a and int x comma int y, and both have default values. Okay, now let's just compile this. If it compiles successfully, then no error. Let us see if they are same or not. Just we are compiling it. Okay, it is working. Why it is working? Because as we know, to define the function, I like yesterday or the day before yesterday I just told you that the signature of these two functions are different, so we need not to worry about. Okay, but when we are going to initialize an object, so we are not creating, this is called default initialization. Okay, class A has one more than one default constructor. Default constructor means we are not going to pass any kind of argument at the time of initialization. Now we are not passing any kind of arguments here. So which function should map with this initialization, either this constructor or this constructor. Okay, now let me explain to you. वी इसको हम डिफ़ॉल्ट बोलेंगे या नहीं, आई डोंट नो अबाउट इट कम्प्लीटली, क्योंकि ये भी मैंने अभी देखा है, जस्ट कुछ नई चीज़ सीखने को मिल गई. इज़ इट डिफ़ॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर? Yes, a default constructor. A default constructor is any constructor that can call without any passing argument. Okay, this is the default constructor. You know that जो भी default constructor होगा वो क्या होगा, ऐसा constructor जिससे हम object को create कर सके without passing any argument. Okay, so we have two A and B. Now it is ambiguous, like whenever this object is creating, it will call this default constructor or this default constructor. Like we must have only one kind of constructor, one kind of default constructor. Okay, so because here is ambiguous, like object 1 should map with this or this, I don't know. If if we are passing certain parameter 5, then there will be no error, the second function will be mapped. Okay, but if we are not passing any parameter, then it is ambiguous to compiler to bind with this or this. There is no strict rule, so it will throw an error. Okay, this is also a default constructor. So point to be noted here, can a parameterized constructor be a default constructor? Yes, in the case of default parameters, in the case of default parameter, if we are passing arguments, now it is working as parameterized constructor, and I am not passing the arguments, it will work as default constructor. Okay, let's like इसे हम any constructor can be called with zero argument is a default constructor. Okay, means any parameterized constructor can be a default constructor, like using default params. Yes, a parameterized constructor become a default constructor. Okay, the new things is going to be like we got to know about constructors, and we have default constructor, parameterized constructor, copy and move, delegation of constructor, and constructor, parameterized constructor. So we have to note here very important things, that is I have to mark that things so that like any parameterized constructor could be a default constructor using all default params. Okay, so what is default constructor? मैंने default constructor की I have not defined the default constructor here, so okay, I should define it, like it will create the confusion, so I should define my okay default constructor. I should define here only. Okay, I am going to default any constructor that can be like any constructor that can be what was the definition? Any constructor that can be called with zero arguments. Any constructor that can be called with zero arguments. Okay, and parameterized constructor, that constructor that is called with a non-zero arguments can be called any constructor that can be called with non-zero arguments. Okay, fine, we got it right. Copy constructor, kind of constructor that is called whenever we pass an reference of another object, okay, as a argument, or we are using copy assignment operator. Okay, that is copy constructor, and that move constructor, and we use conversion constructor also. So let us go for here. So I was talking about types of initialization. Okay, before type of initialization, let's just clear it. Copy constructor, default constructor, move constructor, and conversion constructor. We know about default constructor just right now, and parameterized constructor, whenever we have to initialize our object by some parameter, then that constructor will be parameterized constructor. Okay, and the copy constructor, the constructor that is that takes an object reference as a argument, as a parameter, that constructor is called copy constructor. And move constructor, basically to transfer, the constructor that is used to transfer the ownership of the object. Okay, I will discuss this move constructor and conversion constructor later, because these two are advanced topic. This is not for beginner or intermediate level topic. Okay, copy constructor nothing but a special parameterized constructor with parameterized object of same class. Okay, this is okay. Can copy constructor have multiple parameters? Can copy constructor have multiple multiple params or not. Exactly one params, and that is okay. So it is strict, that it should have only like it must have only one parameter, and that is reference of another object. Okay, let's got it. Okay, parameterized constructor, I don't need to worry about, like we know that. Copy constructor, we know that. Let me just tell you about copy constructor. Class A, we have public, we have index, and just we have index, and we have write about just initialize it int like int n आएगा, default value 0. okay, and this dot x will be n. okay, now in int main we are going to just create a object of a. okay, we are not passing it, just let's say pass it 90. now I want to copy the content of that object. okay, I want to create another object, and I just want to copy the data in this object from this object to this object. To copy, I am copying it. So whenever I am copying it, what does copy means? To replicate the data from here to here. okay, replication means the data should exist in both places, here also and there also. okay, so I just pass the object itself. In object 1 I will pass the object itself. okay, but I have not declared any kind of constructor rather than this, but still there is no error. Means our compiler should have a implicit copy constructor that will like like copied our data. okay, now I will count object dot x. okay, and I will count object 1 dot x. both will be same. okay, let us see. Both the values are 90 90, means our data is copied to object 1. so it is using, as we have not defined any constructor for this kind of parameter, so it is using implicit copy constructor. okay, now we are going to define. so take a, it will return nothing, as constructor need not to return anything, and we have object of this also. okay, what we have? Reference of this object itself. okay, the type of the class itself, means that object data type should be same as the class name. okay, then this will be the copy constructor. let me check you. okay, copy constructor called. listen, I have not like explicitly I am not calling this constructor. let us see now what will going to happen there. ठीक है, मैंने यहाँ पर ऑब्जेक्ट 1 क्रिएट किया और यहाँ पर मैं एज ए पास कर रहा हूँ इस ऑब्जेक्ट को. लेट अस सी व्हाट आर द रिजल्ट, एंड आई एम गोइंग टू रन इट. and we have copy constructor called, then we have 90, and then we have such value, that is garbage value. now let me explain to you what is going on here. This initialization, like object will get initialized, and in this object the value of x will be 90. okay, fine, यहाँ तक अपना ठीक है, समझ में आ गया. अब यहाँ पर देखो, I have created another object, and I have just passed the previous object as the parameters. Means I am calling the copy constructor. Now I have defined the copy constructor, means it will never call the implicit constructor if it has the explicit constructor. अगर तुम्हारे पास explicit constructor है, अगर तुमने वो डिक्लेयर कर रखा है, it doesn't matter that you have defined what you have defined inside the constructor, but if you have declared the copy constructor explicitly, then the compiler will never execute the implicit copy constructor. okay, so same the thing listen, whenever this compiler say okay, we have an object reference, its class type is same as the class, so just call the copy constructor and our call will goes here, this constructor will execute, and in this function there is just a statement that is copy constructor called. As we run the output, we got the copy constructor first. Why we are getting it? Because before these two statement I am initializing this, and in object 1 copy constructor will call and this statement will execute. Now what's going on here, object 1 की जो like object value, the x in this object is initialized with 90. okay, so we are getting 90 here, but now object1.x is getting a kind of what we are getting, we are getting garbage value. It is most important. Like example, listen, if I am not passing any kind of argument, then the default value of x should be 0. okay, according to this constructor. If I will not pass here 90, the value of object.x will be 0. If I am going to rerun this, the value of x object.x will be 0, as due to this default initialization. Whenever I am calling this copy constructor, at a time of initialization only one kind of constructor will call. okay, if it may be copy constructor, it may be default constructor, it may be parameterized constructor, it may be move constructor, or it may be conversion constructor. When you initialize an object, there will only one constructor which is called. okay, now here we call the copy constructor. In the copy constructor there is only one statement and this will execute, and listen, our x will get the default garbage value. If I am going here, if I am just I have to explicitly copy the data, so I am taking that this dot x will contain object dot x. Now it will work. Now our copy constructor will work. The value of x in this object and object 1, now both the values will be same. okay, we got the same values. So I hope you got the idea of copy constructor. And about the constructors, we have this kind of to copy. Now in copy constructor we we have a problem. Like when we use the copy constructor, and in C++ we use pointers, so we have a problem which is of deep copy or shallow copy problem. Let's understand this, what is deep copy and shallow copy problem. Listen, whenever we are creating these kind of normal variables, these variables are going to store in a stack. There will be a stack and all the values are binded to their variable names. okay, now in shallow copy, let me just introduce you to what will be the problem. Let's comment this, and I do have a control Z. Let's delete this. okay, let's delete this deep copy and shallow copy. I am creating a class name with a. okay, now I am going to public specifier, and I have an int. Problem arises with copy constructor plus pointers. If we have any pointer data, if we have any data that is not in stack memory, that is in heap memory. For example, x here is in heap memory. okay, this is the pointer, it will store the reference of any other integer variable. okay, now I am going to initialize it with a constructor that is a. We must have any reference of any another object, and I am going to star the value of like object. okay, or we should have x value of object. Okay, now we are going for int main and return 0. Just create an object A, that is object. Okay, we have a value. Okay, not this. We have a constructor, it will take only integer value int n, and it will initialize the value with star x is equals to n. Now I'm creating an object, I'm just passing 90 here, or I'll get the, if I'm going to count object, it will be a pointer object dot x. Okay, let us see it is working or not. We should get 90. Okay, we are getting 190. If you don't know about this, I just create a pointer and I'm just passing an integer value. The pointer, to dereference the pointer, I have just this star operator, and we have the value. Okay, now listen. X is currently pointing to any memory location that is garbage. At that location, I am just storing that 9 value. Okay, it is not appropriate because listen, I will just tell you why this method is not appropriate. Okay, because x here is a garbage value. X is the reference of something that is garbage, and at that garbage value we are going to add some value. We are going we are storing some significant value, but the address here, it is randomly allotted to this x. Okay, just like int x, something random value will be in there x, as it is something random value will be in this x, will be some random memory location. Okay, if we are declaring our pointer int x as address of y, and we have already declared the int y as 90, so it is a more preferable way to declare the pointer, because y will get the memory location, appropriate memory location, and we are storing x, we are storing that memory location in x. Okay, now we are just creating a object dot x. Okay, everything is clear. Now we have to copy something. B object, let us create an int one pointer and one normal value y, and we will initialize while into 100. Okay, now listen, I am creating an object that will be the object 1. Okay, here implicit copy constructor. As we have the deep copy and shallow copy problem will teach you why we need the explicit copy constructor. Okay, like we already have the copy constructor implicitly, then why we are just typing manually the copy constructor explicitly? So this is the problem, deep copy or shallow copy. I'm just wait a minute, you will get everything. And now I am just this is the copy constructor, implicitly it will call, and all the values corresponding value will be copied. Okay, now see the things. The object x value and object dot y value will be here, just a simple separator. Same will be for object 1. Okay, now I am changing something. Now I am changing the value of object 1. Okay, I am changing the value of object 1. So object 1 dot y is 99 is minus 100, and object 1 dot x, it will be the pointer, and to dereference it I have to use this operator, star operator. Its value will be minus 90. Now see the difference, I am just calling it again. Okay, we should have the endl, it will separate our lines, endl. Okay, did you know about the difference between the endl and string and like /n, \n string? Okay. Okay, now let us execute it. See the difference, x value and y value. Here we got the result as we expected, like we have copied the value of object, we have the copied the value object in the object 1, so value should be same. Now I am changing the value of object. Okay, like I am changing the value of object 1. Let's say I am changing the value of object 1, the newly created object. I am not changing its value now. Okay, see the difference. This is object values and the lower one is object 1 value. I have changed the object 1 value, y with -100 and x with -90. Now see the object, we have two object and object 1. The obj's x value also changed. Okay, but y value didn't change, but x value changed. Means I am changing the object value and object 1 value, and object value also get changed. That means it is not what we wanted. Like if I have copied some pointer data from another object, both will get the same address, and if I am going, like both will have the ownership on that same memory location. And if I am going to change data in one object, the change will be like the change also will be happen in the another object. This is chaos, we don't want this. ठीक है, अब ये हो क्यों रहा है, लेट अस डिस्कस दिस ये हो क्यों रहा है. देखो हमारी जो भी मेमोरी लोकेशन, ये जितने भी हमारे लोकल वेरिएबल होते हैं, ऑल दीज आर स्टोर्ड इन स्टैक. ओके, लेट मी एक्सप्लेन टू यू विद काइंड ऑफ समथिंग. ओके, इससे एक्सप्लेन करते हैं स्टैक मेमोरी कैसे, मेमोरी का थोड़ा ऑपरेशन कैसे होता है ना. वी विल गेट टू नो दिस. ओके, there is no light here. I think internet not working, my stream is, oh god, drop frames are dropped. Let me wait a second. I think we got the okay, everything is fine. Now we were at memory location, how the things were wrote when you declare a variables. Let me just create some kind of table. There is a table. Okay, we have this kind of table. Okay, now how the things are going to store in our location. Let's just you create an variable int x, and here we have some value. It will store in the stack. This is kind of a stack. and we have x, okay, and here we have x, and here its respective value, that is 9. Okay, 9. Now x and their corresponding value. In the case of pointer, for example, we have a pointer int star x, okay, and it is storing some address. It will not store any address. For example, if we have some x that is containing address of y, something, n is element n. So what's going to store in this memory location? At the name can't be same, so I'm just ptr. Okay, now x will represent, the representation in this text of x is like this, and this pointer will be, we have a pointer, okay, we have a variable name ptr and this corresponding value. Now what will be the values of this pointer? It will not pointing to the integer value, it will pointing to an integer, like एक reference, memory reference. Okay, memory reference. So we have a memory reference here, like we have a memory reference. It will be some kind of integer, there will be a memory address. It will not store, it will have memory address. Okay, it will store some kind of memory address there. Okay, memory address. Okay, there will be a pointer, there is a memory address, and the memory address is pointing toward a heap. Okay, it's a heap. इसमें कहीं पर भी हमारे पास वो जो n है ना, उसकी लोकेशन, इसकी जो n है ना, n, इसकी लोकेशन होगी कहीं पे ना कहीं पे भी. ओके, इसकी मेमोरी की कुछ ना कुछ लोकेशन होगी. लाइक एग्जांपल वी आर, अगर n ले रहे हैं तो उस मेमोरी की लोकेशन होगी. ओके, ये कहाँ पर पॉइंट करेगी? ये मेमोरी एड्रेस होगा. या तो वो हीप में होगी, हीप में नहीं होगी. फॉर एग्जांपल हमने x की ही एड्रेस दे दी, यहाँ पर एड्रेस ऑफ x ही दे दिया, ठीक है, x ऑफ एड्रेस ही दे दिया. तो ये किसको पॉइंट करेगा? ये किसको पॉइंट करेगा? इट विल पॉइंट टू दिस x. ओके, इट विल नॉट पॉइंट एनी ऑफ द वैल्यूज, इट विल पॉइंट द एड्रेस. अगर अपने इस पीटीआर को ऐसे बनाया, पीटीआर इज लाइक न्यू इंट, ओके, डायनेमिक मेमोरी एलोकेशन क्या है, तो वो पॉइंट करेगा मेमोरी एड्रेस जो कि हीप में होगी. और अगर आपने कोई भी एक लोकल वेरिएबल क्रिएट किया है और उसका एड्रेस पॉइंटर में लाइक स्टोर किया है, तो पॉइंट करेगा उस एड्रेस को. लाइक यहाँ पर मैं एक्स को ही कर देता हूँ, तो इट विल स्टोर द दिस एक्स, एंड एक्स इज पॉइंटिंग टू 9. नाउ लेट्स से दिस इज आवर एन ऑब्जेक्ट. ये है एक ऑब्जेक्ट, ठीक है. अब आई एम क्रिएटिंग अ सेम ऑब्जेक्ट, आई एम क्रिएटिंग अ सेम ऑब्जेक्ट नेम्ड ऑब्जेक्ट 1, and I am just calling it normal constructor, implicit constructor. What the implicit constructor do is, it just copy the corresponding value from the stack of this object. So it will just copy these things and just paste here. Okay, the in object 1's x, this x is not objects, this x is member of this object 1, but the value will here. Okay, but here the value will be, it will get from this object. Here it is 9, it will go, okay, it is 9, done. Here it is memory address, it will like copy the same memory address here. Okay, now the memory address, if the memory address is copied, so for example here the memory address is pointing toward this variable. So in this case here this memory address is exactly same, and it will not pointing toward this x, it will pointing toward this x. Okay, now I think you are able to see, whenever we are changing the any element that is present at that memory address, the write operation will be performed there. This x value means its 9 value will be changed. Okay, so either we can change this value from here and here, but this is kind of example of shallow copy. Only the respective values are going to be changed. Okay, in case of pointers, the value will not be like the value ownership in shallow copy. If we have the pointer members, then the address will not be changed, no new object are created, it's just pass the same memory address here also. It is shallow copy. जस्ट ये यहाँ से इन एलिमेंट को पिक करता है और यहीं रख देता है. तो इस प्रॉब्लम को हम पर सॉल्व कैसे कर सकते हैं? हाउ डू वी सॉल्व दिस प्रॉब्लम? हमें इस ऑब्जेक्ट को यहाँ से यहाँ कॉपी करना है, इसके सारे के सारे वैल्यूज़ हमें कॉपी चाहिए इस वाली रो में। सो लाइक अब मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ कि इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करो, तो प्रॉब्लम दे क्या रहा है? प्रॉब्लम दे रहा है कि ये जो मेमोरी एड्रेस है ना, ये मेमोरी एड्रेस इस एक्स को पॉइंट कर रहा है। मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि ये मेमोरी एड्रेस इस एक्स को पॉइंट ना करे, एक ऐसे वेरिएबल को पॉइंट करे जिसकी वैल्यू सेम हो जो एक्स में है, ये इसको पॉइंट करे। तो मैं क्या करूँगा, मैं इस मेमोरी एड्रेस जो मुझे यहाँ से मिल रहा है इसे मैं नहीं लूँगा, मैं इसे ले ही नहीं रहा हूँ, मैं इसको डिलीट कर दूँगा। तो ये जो लिंक ये क्रिएट हो रही थी ये डिलीट हो जाएगी। मैं यहाँ पर अपना एक नया वेरिएबल बनाऊँगा, नया पॉइंटर बनाऊँगा और फिर मैं उसको एक नया एड्रेस दे दूँगा। आई विल क्रिएट ए न्यू मेमोरी एड्रेस दैट विल बी ओके, I will create a new address and just I will store that new address to that pointer. Now it depend on the situation. If here this memory location is pointing to x, so what we will create, we will just create that mapping. मैं इस नया एड्रेस, ये एड्रेस किसका होगा, ये इस वाले x का एड्रेस होगा, ना कि इस वाले x का। Now the elements are copied, object is created. Now this is an example of deep copy. In the deep copy, we are just solving the problem of shallow copy. We are just creating the new variables, or we are just creating the new addresses for pointer members. Okay, इसका जो प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल था इस प्रॉब्लम का वो ये रहा। इसे सॉल्व करने के लिए हमें हमेशा रिक्वायरमेंट होती है एक्सप्लिसिट कॉपी कंस्ट्रक्टर की, क्योंकि इम्प्लिसिट कॉपी कंस्ट्रक्टर कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग स्टैक की वैल्यू उठा के एग्जैक्ट डाल देता है, बट हमें ये नहीं चाहिए। डीप कॉपिंग में हमें इस मेमोरी एड्रेस को चेंज करना होगा। सो हाउ वुड वी चेंज दिस? वेन एवर वी कॉल ए कॉपी कंस्ट्रक्टर, जस्ट कॉल अ कॉपी कंस्ट्रक्टर, वट वी हैव हियर, जस्ट कॉपी द like this dot y will be at object dot y. Now we have x. We have to know that we have to okay, now we have to know the structure of this x. It is basically storing the address of an n. Okay, it is basically storing the address of any integer, okay, that is n, that is like it is get from this value x. So what we are going to do is we are just creating a new integer. Okay, how we are creating the integer? Just we have x will be the new int and the value will be the same as we have in x, so the value will be star x. Now if we are doing the changes in object 1, the change will not reflected in object. Okay, let's see this. Here I just change my object, the changes object 1, the changes are not reflected in object. This is simple. This is the deep copy. To deep copy you have to make new objects in the copy constructor and you will solve the problem of shallow copy. Okay, I hope you got the idea of deep copy and shallow copy. This is live stream, it's kind of revision purpose, so I am not explaining it too much detail, so I can make a separate videos. Okay, now we have what we are doing is constructors. We are on constructors. Yeah, like time is up. I have to do the driver sheet now. It takes time, it taking too much time as I am explaining to you. Now from tomorrow onwards I will not explain, I just revise these things. For explanation I will create the videos. There are too many things to revise, I just forgotten many things. Okay, I must have to revise those things. So let's end this and let this stream, and I'll just back in another live stream for we are solving DSA problem in from that driver sheet. So